Anybody's cold? Is that cold? Okay, on page Mem Beis in my book. B'chol hishtadlus adam ba'olam hazeh. A new topic within the topic that we're talking about. B'chol hishtadlus adam ba'olam hazeh. Everything that we need to work for in this world, hu la'agia l'shleimus hayira, is to come to the shleimus of yira, meaning yira shamayim is a shleimus. There's a certain completion when one comes to yira shamayim. How does he know that? He says, K'moshe Nemar, it says before in the Torah, Ma Hashem shoyal mimcha ki im liyira oisi. At the end of the day, the only thing that Hashem is asking for really is yira shamayim. Ki im liyira oisi. Nemar, and it says that's Elikim Yirei, Kizeh Kol Ha'adam. Psukim which are murder on the fact that Yira Shamayim is really what it's all about. So, meaning, we can do all the mitzvos, we can do chesed, and avas Hashem. It's all coming to the point, Ma Hashem Elokecha shoyel me'imach ki im li yira. I see, somehow it all comes to Yira Shamayim. Is that a chiddush to anybody? Finish to me. I would have thought Yira Shamayim is a derech to come to behaving well. If you have Yira Shamayim, you don't steal from people. If you have Yira Shamayim, you don't yell at people. If you have Yira Shamayim, you daven properly. But here he's saying that the tachlis of everything is Yira Shamayim. Chiddush, no?
And there are two levels?
The Moshe Rabbeinu's chiddush.
Yira Shamayim and Yira Shamayim, there's two levels of Yira Shamayim.
Whatever.
But the higher isn't the deterrent of the Haber. The higher is in itself a relationship.
Okay. But there's Yiras Haroimimus, but why is it more than Abbas Hashem? After Hashem Elokecha. It's not a kasha Reb Tzadok, it's a kasha Moshe Rabbeinu. Ma Hashem Elokecha shoyel mimach ki im liyira oisi.
It doesn't continue on other things after that?
Proton. Seems like proton. To go in my way, to listen to my words. Amru, it says in Chazal, going from Moshe Rabbeinu to Shlomo HaMelech to Chazal, Ein la Kadosh Baruch Hu ba'olamai ela oitzer shel yira shamayim bilvad. All HaKadosh Baruch Hu has ba'olamai is an oitzer of yira shamayim. If you want to get into God's world, it's all about Yira Shamayim. Zeh kol esek olam hazeh dehayoim la'asoisam ad yemois haMashiach. This is all referring to olam hazeh. Dehayom la'asosam ad yemois haMashiach she'amar b'Shabbos dehem yamim she'ein behem lois chus. The Yishlim Koyach HaBechira Kishyagi L'Tachlis HaShlamus Yira Shamayim. So, okay, a little bit more. That Olam Hazeh is the place of Yira Shamayim. Again, another chiddush here. We're going to take every word carefully. That the Koyach HaBechira ends when Mashiach comes. Okay? You with me on that?
Why there'll be no more converts at that time.
That's why we don't take converts.
Yes.
So the angels, then we're not like the angels when Mashiach comes, like the angels, no?
What about angels?
So like angels, then when Mashiach comes, we're like an angel?
Okay.
Is it no Bechira?
Okay. So we're like angels when Mashiach comes. I mean, Koach HaBechira is only in Olam Hazeh. The Yishlam Koach HaBechira, so that'll be the end of the time of Bechira. Kishiagil Tachlis HaShlamus, when we come to the Tachlis HaShlamus of Yer Shamayim. Because we've come to the Tachlis of Shlemus. When Mashiach comes, it means that we've reached the Tachlis of Shlemus, and we've come to Yer Shamayim. And once we come to Yer Shamayim, there's no more Bechira. The Machviluhu Yitzchak HaKadosh Baruch Hu Be'inayu. We have to look at that Gemara. Maybe can somebody, Moshe, can I trouble you to get a Ein Yaakov on Shabbos? By my seat there. Thank you. The Machviluhu Yitzchak HaKadosh Baruch Hu Be'inayu Shehu Darga the Yitzchak Shegil L'Shleimus HaYira Ayidei Rias Hashem Yisbarach Noichach Einov. Okay, so there's a number of things here that have to come together. Number one is that the purpose, thank you very much, the purpose of everything is Yer Shamayim. Ein lo ila kadosh baruch hu ba'olamai ela oitzer she'yer shamayim bilvad. And it's only at the point that we have complete Yer Shamayim, that the world has come to the madrega of Yer Shamayim. It's only at that point where the world as we know it ends, and we come to the place of what he calls, what the Ramchal calls, what the Rambam calls Olam Haba, meaning the time of Mashiach, not Olam Haba heaven, but Olam Haba right here when Mashiach comes. How do we get there? Because of the time, because we finally reached the Yer Shamayim. We finally reached this madrega of Yer Shamayim. So therefore, he says, Kol Ishtadlus Ha'adam B'Olam Hazeh L'Hagia L'Shleimus HaYira. Therefore, everything should be about getting to Yer Shamayim. And Yer Shamayim, he tells us, once we get to the point of Yer Shamayim, there's no need for Bechira Chashus any longer.
We have less Bechira than Adam Rishon then? For a
That's a bit of a red herring. Like once we have Yer Shamayim, so there is no Bechira any longer. That's the once you're standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and it's absolutely clear.
That's it.
So what's the Bechira? So it's not that we don't have Bechira, or is it not even the Adam Rishon didn't have Bechira? He had Bechira. We will have Bechira, but the Zman of Bechira is over. The Tkufa of Bechira is over.
So why did he need Bechira if we don't need it in times of Mashiach? Isn't it a similar type of atmosphere?
Why did who need Bechira?
Why did Adam Rishon need Bechira? If we don't need it in times of Mashiach, why did he need it before the Chet?
Let's not talk about Adam Rishon.
Okay.
At this moment, because it's his Bechira and his Yetzirah is going to confuse us here.
Okay.
I just say I'm just trying to read the words here. It's like something very simple. It's relatively simple. He's saying that the Zman of the purpose of this world as we know it is Yer Shamayim. Yer Shamayim, as I understand it from what he's saying, in order to achieve Yer Shamayim, one has to have Bechira. And once one has Yer or let's put it this way, until one has Yer Shamayim, one needs to exercise Bechira, because if you have Yer Shamayim, the Hainu, if everything is 100% clear to you, so then there's no Inyan of Bechira. So it comes out that the place of Bechira is on Olam Hazeh, the place of Bechira is on Olam Haba. Maybe on some level there is some Bechira that goes on, but who's going to be Bocher wrong? Nobody's going to be Bocher wrong once Mashiach comes. So in that sense, maybe you're different than Malachim in this sense, Rabbi Yaakov said. The Malachim, Taka have no Bechira. The Taka have no Bechira. But here it's not the pshat that we have no Bechira, or we will have no Bechira. It's just that there's no point. Who's going to be Bocher, right? Here's a glass of cyanide. Would you like a drink, L'chaim? so the answer is, do I really have Bechira? You know, if I want to live, I don't drink. I might have Bechira on some level. Theoretically, I could choose to drink it. But the Matthias is, I really don't. You're not giving me much of a choice, as the vernacular goes.
The Shaddai Sinai, the mountain overhead.
Mountain overhead was absolutely clear.
We had complete Bechira, but couldn't be utilized because it was so obvious.
Right, and then we built the Egel Ezra.
Can a person B'Olam Hazeh reach that level of Yira?
So if a person comes to that level of Yira, so then you have no level of Bechira.
But that's possible for a person in all of that.
So I believe, yeah. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're going to learn. But I'm repeating this just so we get it clear in our own minds. I'm just going to go over the aside that there is no. This is the world of Bechira. Mashiach is not the world of Bechira, because this is the world of achieving Yiras Shamayim. So when Kol Zman you're achieving Yiras Shamayim, you have Bechira. But once you've achieved Yiras Shamayim, so what in the world are you being bocher between what and what?
Well, is it a Zman, or every individual will have something will be instilled in the person? Because if it's the Zman, what is it about the Zman? Like, if someone wakes up in the morning and is too lazy to go to minyan, is it so during the Yemos Mashiach there'll be something?
It'll be so clear that we need to be a minyan that there won't be, like we need to catch a plane, that there won't be any real Bechira. There won't be a deep exercise of Bechira that I've chosen to.
What does it mean? What will be clear?
Mashiach, Zeh Hashem Elokim.
Yeah, but okay.
Kivinu Loi, Nagila V'Nisach Havai.
So that's when we're surrounded, or or like outside in the world. But you
don't hear it. When Mashiach comes, things will become clear.
Fine. But for someone to be constantly aware of that clarity 24 hours a day, or waking hours.
Hard to imagine, huh?
Yeah.
But we're uncovering here another yesod, which is I believe is all very connected, and that is that the exercise of Bechira is very olam hazadik, and it comes from a lack of clarity. Al Korcha comes from a lack of clarity. If one had clarity, there's nothing to choose. There's certain things we have Bechira. I mean, is anybody exercising their Bechira not to kill somebody today? You don't have to answer that question. I'm just generally speaking. Even more than that. Is there anybody exercising Bechira when you're walking down the street of New York? Should I eat in Pizza Hut or should I eat in the kosher place? So, we're beyond that level of confusion. Maybe somebody who just decides to keep kosher that day, what should I do? It's like breaking their diet. But for us, we're already ragil b'zeh. It's not. Nobody's going to eat treif, right? Nobody's going to kill anybody. Yet somehow or another we speak lashon hara. So there must be some area of confusion within us that we really don't see that the same as eating treif. Okay, maybe I believe maybe the Chavetz Chaim mixed us up in this a little bit because he started telling us this l'toel is that l'toel is he should have just told me it's usher. That's all. Once I know about these 7 toelas, I got to become a big lavdan here with lashon hara. But what I'm saying is Bechira is also lack of clarity, and when Mashiach comes, there's going to be clarity. Now,
is that because we're going to know all of Torah?
I don't think so. I think it's because we're going to see the Shekhinah. Let's look at the next. I'm having a hard time getting over this hump because I want to look at this Gemara in Shabbos. It's a difficult Gemara. But Shehu Darga the Yitzchak, the Indian of Yiras Shamayim, is the Darga of Yitzchak Shehigia L'Shleimus Hayira, that he came to the Shleimus of Yira. Yitzchak Avinu came to what we can call Shleimus in Yiras Shamayim, Al Yedei Riyas Hashem Yisbarach Noichacheno, because he saw Hashem. Wow. Omisha Oimed Lifnei HaMelech. This is your words, right? Omisha Oimed. This is what he's saying. Omisha Oimed Lifnei HaMelech Al Korchach HaPachad Allah V'Yefshir Shlo Yisyara. How could you sin when you're standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Al Korchach HaPachad Allah V'Yefshir Shlo Yisyara K'may She'isa B'Hagad Reish Arachaim, like the Ramah says at the beginning of Shulchan Aruch, that if one would imagine Shivisi Hashem L'Negdi Samid, if one would be able to picture in their mind how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always watching them, they would never do an Aver. Afilu B'Chedr Chadarim, says the Ramah, they would never do an Aver. So the Yesod HaYesod is to picture that Hashem is watching you. You have no Bechira V'Alkein Yichid HaKadosh Baruch Hu Al Yitzchak B'Chayev. So we brought Yitzchak into this, Ubizeh hayagam kain ki hayayin einav. And that's why Yitzchak was blind. Okay. Mechizu da'olam hazeh ayidei gilui shchina le'einav. Because he saw the Shekhinah. Let's work on this for a couple of minutes, and then we'll understand everything. Let's see. Parshas told us, yeah? Vayihi ki zaken Yitzchak. Yitzchak became old. Vatichena einav mirois. The pashut of Pshat is the Torah tells us why he was blind. He was blind because he was old. Vatichena einav mirois. Vayikra es Esav b'nai hagadol. Had he not been blind at this point, l'chorah, the whole story of Yaakov and Esav and the brachos would not have happened. He would have seen it. Because Rashi, Vatichena einav shel mirois, that his eyes became blind. Why? Says Rashi, Ba'ashonon shel elu. It was the wives, I think the Gemara says, the wives of Esav, the women that he was keeping company with, that were bringing karbanos to Avodah Zarah, and the smoke blinded his eyes. Dover acher, another pshat, says Rashi, Kishenekad al gabi hamizbeach, vaya aviv roitze l'shachtoi, that when Yitzchak was on the Mizbeach, this man who was giving the brachas to Yaakov and to Esav, so he was once on a Mizbeach, right? He was the same, years earlier, that was the big story of his life. He was on the Mizbeach. So, Kisheneket al gabi Mizbeach, ha'ya'aviv roitze l'shachtoi, his father wanted to shaft him, ba'oisa shah, niftechu ha'shamayim, v'ra'u malachi ha'shareis v'heim boichim. The Shemayim opened up, so he's on the Mizbeach. The Shemayim opened up. What did he see? Malachi Ashores. V'hayubochim, and the Malachi Ashores were crying. V'yardu dimaiseihem, and their tears fell down. V'naflu aleinav, straight into his eyes. Very difficult to understand. Lefichach ko einav. It's like Rashi's pshat. Like, why does he go against the simple pshat? It says by Yaakov also, right? Yaakov was beside Yomav, right? It said there was lost in the pasuk that Yaakov couldn't see any longer. By Moshe Rabbeinu it says he could see.
Cataracts.
Old. Looks like we have a resident ophthalmologist here. We have a...
Not macular degeneration.
So Rashi comes up with not the simple shot. Doesn't even like the simple shot. We have to say some other shot. And he comes up with not one, but not two, and not three shot, but three shot too. First shot is it was the smoke of the Avodah Zarah that was blinding him. Second shot is that it was the demos of the Malachim at the time of the Akedah that were blinding him. And the third shot is Davar Acher Kadesh Yitol Yaakov V'Sabrachos. If he wasn't blind, then we have no story here. Says Rashi that the whole Yaakov, how would Yaakov have ended up with the brachas if he could see? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu made him blind in order for him to see. The Medrash says, by the way, Rashi doesn't bring. Medrash Rabbah on the spot says, why was he blind? I can understand why Rashi doesn't bring it, because it's like a little Medrash Noah's, it's a bit of a chutzpah Medrash. But the Medrash says, Ki ha-shoichad ya'aver einei chachomim. He was a makabel shoichad, havili matamin. Esav, so the Medrash would bring him food. Esav would take care of him in a certain way that Yaakov, the Ben Torah, wasn't able to take care of him. This was a man on the street, this was a man in the field. He was hunting, he was bringing money, there was a certain, so he couldn't see any bad in Esav. So the Torah says that if you take shochad, ya'aver einei chachamim. So the simple pshat in the pasuk is that shochad blinds you, and the even simpler pshat is that it blinds you. You become blind. You become blind. So the Medrash says, Rashi doesn't bring this, but there's a fourth pshat. The Rashi says that it was because he was Makabel Shoichad,
What's shochad?
bribed. He was bribed by Esau. And bribery blinds a man.
Tzai b'fiv.
Gitzai b'fiv?
Yeah.
Bring me food, I see no evil.
It is a chutzpah measure.
Chutzpah medrash. And it's a medrash which is turning around the pshat of the pasuk, because the simple pshat of the pasuk is that you're blinded by the bribe, but not blinded, physically blinded. You're blinded about this particular situation. You bribe a judge, so he becomes blind to the truth of this case.
So you're going to say he was blinded by the brother, maybe he wasn't really blind.
According to that. It's very good, Shmuel. It could be that's why Rashi doesn't bring this pshat, because according to that pshat, maybe he wasn't really blind, he was just blinded, from this point. So Rashi's saying what the Torah says he became blind. It could be. So let's just think about it for a second. On the one hand, like one pshat is, let's go minakatz elakaza. One pshat is that why was he blind? Because he was sitting on the Akedah. And by laying on the Mizbeach of the Akedah, Nechad al Mizbeach, he saw the Arubois HaShemayim open up, and he saw Malachim. And when he saw the Malachim, and the Malachim, were crying, and the tears of the Malachim fell straight into his eyes. It's like, I don't even know what it means. I mamish don't know what it means. I don't know what it means. I mean, obviously it can't be taken literally, but but if it's not taken literally, I don't know what it means. What does it mean? He saw Malachim, beautiful. That didn't blind him. The Malachim were crying. What does that mean? They're losing Yitzchak. What were they crying? I mean, they didn't realize. Huh? What? Say something.
Say this moment, the whole world was focused on this point, on that occasion, on that Mizbeach. Was Avram shefting his son, whatever that sacrifice that called upon him to do, it was there. Also the Malachim, the whole celestial world was focused on that moment. So the Malachim, saw that the world isn't going.
So wait, without
the fear was not for this. So it's a fracturing moment, or a creating moment.
Chaval, we're wrong. It's Chaval, and then when he became, how he was 37 years old when the tears fell into his eyes and he went blind. Kizakid Yitzchak was 100 years later.
But that's the blindness time. That is the revelation. The blindness
in the future.
The experience of this, the blindness of seeing the world as it is, because at this moment he sees that true truth, whatever brought the Malachim to him.
So the Malachim are crying because they have wrong pshat and what's going to happen over here, and they're crying, and the tears fall boom, into like an eyedropper into Yitzchak's eyes from 1,000,000 miles away. They fall into Yitzchak's eyes.
It doesn't have to be 1,000,000 miles away. It could be right over his face too.
Okay, Malachim are Malachim. Okay,
Maybe
sometimes the Shemayim opened up.
Chabad said that because the Susigas Yitzchak, they gave a certain koyach for generations to come to sacrifice themselves at the Kiddush Hashem.
Beseder, so why was he blind?
The Malachim, we're not looking at this particular Akedah as a happening. They actually knew the Pshat.
Wow, they were crying over Rabbi Akiva. Okay.
You're not even dying. It was also a tremendous act of self-sacrifice. I mean, it was like such a dramatic, amazing display of Avos Hashem.
It's the ultimate of lack of bechira. It's the ultimate in lack of bechira. You're doing Hashem's will totally.
Okay, it's good we're thinking about this. It's like but the point is, it's a makam of kedusha. You agree? It's a moment of tremendous kedusha sitting on the mizbeach. Tremendous kedusha that's going on right now. He's on the mizbeach. The shemayim is open. He sees the malachim. The malachim are crying. I mean, this is like wild. The malachim are crying. Not just they're crying, but they're in shemayim crying. But they're interacting with this world mamish. They're interacting. Their tears are falling down from the shemayim into this world. And where are they landing? They're landing in Yitzchak's eyes. And then Yitzchak goes blind. So that's kilu. Like here, he's doing such a great thing. He's sitting on the mizbeach, and he's willing to be mocker of himself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he's zoichet to the Riyas Bnei Shechina, and he goes blind. That's the schar for this. And when did he go blind? He went blind 100 years later. He goes blind. Stop shot.
He didn't go blind at that moment.
No. He was old. He became blind. So he didn't even go blind then. So what's the and then we have minakotza lakotza. I just want to say minakotza lakotza comes the Medrash and says, you want to know why I was blind? Because he took a sheikhad from Esav, because he was bribed. That's why he was blind. One is because he was like the most gewaldige tzaddik that the world ever saw, which he was. And the other is because he was a Bekabel Shochad, like, all right, you're feeding me, so I don't see, so difficult.
Maybe it's both.
Or both.
Because he was such a Gewaldig tzaddik, then he was involved in an aspect of impurity that blinded him.
That didn't happen, though, right? That happened all his whole life.
There you go. There you go, the deal.
The tears of love caused him to not see Esav correctly.
Oh. Now we're learning Shabbat.
Love don't have tears, really.
Oh, love it. I love it. Now we're learning
Love don't have
Shabbat.
tears, really. They're not humans. They shouldn't have tears.
Malachim.
Don't have tears.
Therefore?
They don't eat. They don't.
And therefore? They don't eat, they don't breathe, they don't... They have tears and they sing. They sing, Malachim sing. Is the Malachim are Bali Regesh. That's the Pshat. Malachim have Regesh. That's not but they don't have free choice. They don't have free choice. I don't know the Malachim. So one thing we can see very clearly here, that Hava, one thing is clear from this whole Maisa here. That Hava, that being blind is a bad thing. Hava Amina, that making a mistake and seeing Esav as a good guy is a bad thing. And Hava Amina, that taking a bribe is certainly a bad thing. Kamash Milan, that's not what happened. When you, Yitzchak, sat on that Mizbeach, laid on the Mizbeach, and looked up to the Shemayim and realized that the next moment I'm going to be a korban to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, something happened to his eyes. What happened to his eyes is that he whether he's going to live another minute or he's going to live for another 100 years, he's never going to see the world in the same way that he saw it until then. Correct?
It's a different life.
Don't we have things in our life that changes the way we see things forever?
Perspective.
More than perspective. It's just you see something different. Perspective is in my mind shallow. It means to say I'll never look at my child the same way. If a God person goes through a trauma with a child and almost loses, God forbid, a child, is he ever going to look at the child the same? That's a different perspective about my children. It's much deeper than that. I'm not looking now as this is a matana from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Somehow or another, we need to understand this, but somehow or another, what happened here with the Akedah is connected to what happens here with the brachos. It's a connection. Rashi's making a connection here between what happened with the Akedah, what happened in Yitzchak's mind, what happened in his eyes. He saw something. So it's lahatimet hadavar. The Zohar says that what he saw is his fourth pshat, fifth pshat we're holding, that he saw the Or HaGanuz. Saw the Or. So when he saw that Or HaGanuz, it blinded him. But what does it mean that it blinded him? When he's blinded, it's so interesting it's so interesting the lashon of Chazal, lashon sagi nahar.
Yeah.
Lashon Sagi Nahar. So Lashon Sagi Nahar means we really want to say he's blind, but it's not nice to say that he's blind. Why don't we talk about a Sagi Shmiya? Do you ever wonder about this? A person who can't hear, call him a Sagi Shmiya. What's a Sagi Nahar? He saw so much. So I believe that it comes, a Lashon Sagi Nahar, if you'll trace it, comes from Yitzchak, who was called a Sagi Nahar. It's not that he couldn't see, he saw way too much. He saw way more than anybody's going to be able to see. And where our vision blocks our sight, Yitzchak was able to see deeper. So what happens is that when we see an Esav, what do we see? Tattoos. We see the knife instead of switchblades. That's what we see when we see Esav. When Yitzchak sees an Esav, he was blind.
So beyond.
He was blind. He didn't even see that stuff. He didn't even see that chitzonius. All he saw was the pneumius. He was blind. It means to say that at the mice of the Akedah, he became blind. He started a career of blindness. It took 100 years to become completely blind, Be'ezus Hashem.
The first of trusting Rashi is connecting it to the idea of Esav's wives. Okay, it's much more that's the hemshah. In the first shot, it's directly with it's direct gorim. In the second shot, l'chara, you could say also Rashi's bothered by this. What's Esav's wives have to do with it? So if he's given Saginor, if he's given, he now looks at things from the Akedah, as in terms of he can only see spirituality. Then when Esav, this parsha of Esav and his wives means that he couldn't see them because they're all darkness.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's a Rashi.
Hemshah is perfect. Good Kazak.
So with Abraham and Sarah, who had the Saginor when he wanted to kick out the Shema. Abraham also saw it on the good. He couldn't understand first because God had to tell him to listen to Sarah.
He was blinded in a certain way. He was blinded. He was blind. I mean, I guess he was blinded. But let me just recapsulize this point because I think it's a key to what we're going to learn now. Meaning that the blindness that we're talking about here, the blindness which Mefurish B'Kra, Mefurish in the Chumash, which did not allow him to see the difference between Yaakov and Esav and Adrabah. He thought Esav was more chashuv. That blindness was a blindness which resulted from the Akedah, meaning that once he went through this Akedah, once he went through this experience of the Akedah, so things never look the same to him. They don't look the same as it looks to everybody else. So everybody's seeing one thing. When Yitzchak, I'm an oil to me, I was on the Akedah. I see things completely differently than you see it. So this was like this vision loss was the greatest vision in the world, meaning that like our eyes deceive us, and our eyes limit how far we can see. Seeing is believing. Yeah. Is that true, Beto?
Absolutely not.
No, we know that. The witnesses see the same thing and see how different.
Not only that, I believe what I can see. But if I see it, then I don't need believing. Which brings us to our point. Once you see it, there's no Bechira Chavshus. Once you see it, there's no Bechira Chavshus. I see it. So I have a choice now whether to believe whether you're sitting here or you're not sitting here. You're sitting here, finish. What am I dreaming? Maybe.
Pinch me.
So seeing has nothing to do with believing, Rabbi say. Seeing has nothing to do with believing. But believing is gufo, what you can't see. Or let's say it better, that believing is when you can see something really, really deep. So what the seeing that we have is a wall. The seeing is we can't see around the corner.
From the distraction.
Yeah, it's like what we see is it comes out that if you really want to see something if you really want to see very, very far, close your eyes. Close your eyes.
You have a vision.
Then you can have a vision. You have to stop seeing. Stop seeing, and then you can see far.
So I'm saying that we keep talking about the deficiency of his vision, but really the underlying theme is that he saw deeper than we did,
right.
And maybe what he was really seeing that we couldn't see. I mean, he talked about the tattoos, but I think what he really saw all the time was Esav's potential. That Esav had a greater potential than Yaakov.
Or the Shava. Right, something. I'm wondering while I was thinking what the diuk of the pasuk is about Tichela Elav Be'rois. His eyes became weak. His eyes became dim. Must be Be'rois from seeing. Elavai from smelling.
No, he wasn't seeing with his eyes.
Oh. It wasn't about his eyes. Exactly. It was not about his eyes any longer. I'm just I was looking at this morning and I was thinking to myself, wow, there's a whole other way of seeing, a whole other way of seeing things. It's when the Gemara wants to bring a raya to something, the Gemara says Toshma.
Come here.
Huh?
poke chazi?
Sometimes. Go and see. Poke chazi, toshma. With the Zayar, and often the Yerushalmi, wants to spiggerai to something that says tochazi. Come and see. You know, I see what you're saying. Right. Right. No, the yeshivas like to say, like, oh, I hear. I see. It's a different madrega to see what somebody is saying. I see what you're saying. It's not necessarily what everybody's hearing, but I see what you're saying. I can see something. I can see something deeper. Okay. So what do I want to bring out with this? I want to bring out that it's first of all, there's no stira between the pshatim. Mitzad echad, hashoichad ya'aver einei chacham. Let's just try to understand that. Hashoichad ya'aver einei chacham by Yitzchak. It blinded him. Means to say that the kibbut of Esav, simple as you can get. The kibbut of Esav, the mitzvahs of Esav, the toiv of Esav, blinded him from seeing the ra of Esav. Is that a bad thing? It's a good thing.
It says chachamim in the Torah. It means people who the Torah regard as chachamim. That means nobody's. I feel Moshe Aaron, right? So it's not following the Titkas. It's just the best kind of.
You know, I wonder if, like the Gemara gives an example. Rabbi Gamliel says, "K'goyin anoch." One of the, I think it was Rabbi Gamliel. "K'goyin anoch." He's trying to explain the pasuk. If one of the balei did, pull the chair up, push a chair in for me, so I could sit down. Pasil do ladila. I won't pass it. So it's so hard to understand. Ad kedei kach, that his whole mind is going to get messed up now, and he's going to say that you stole from you instead of you stole from him because he pulled in the chair for me. I mean, the Torah is made. I mean, we can't go away from the simple chat. The Torah is made. Yaver Yisrael tzaddikim. Tzaddikim also. Okay, well, one day we'll be buying into what's Yaver and what's Yisrael. But it could be that even there itself, we're talking about chachamim. Like if we're talking about tzaddikim, we're talking about dayanim, we're talking about a beistin, we're talking about Rabbi Gamliel. So he was immediately prone to see the toif in a person. Don't show me your toif. The minute you show me your toe, I'm meshuchad. I can't think any longer because all I see, I don't see the tattoos anymore. In other words, I see you to this drop of chesed. You have the sensitivity of pushing in the chair for me. It doesn't mean necessarily that the pshat is that this guy's like an evil guy. I'm going to get Rabbi Gamliel. I'm going to put in his chair for him. I'll show what a gentleman I am. Yacholiot, I don't know. I think the pshat is that there's a special desayin for a chacham, there's a special desayin for a tzaddik that he sees more than everybody else can see, so Mamela he's not going to paskin correctly. Mamela is not going to paskin correctly because halacha self has to do with who's guilty and who's innocent in this world. So if you start seeing, people would say, you don't go for a din Torah to a kobel who could see. You don't go to the choizim in Lublin you go to for a bracha. But why do you go to the choizim in Lublin for a bracha? Why is a navi called a chozeh, a seer? He's a hearer, right? A navi's hearing the word. Why is he a seer? Choizeh.
It's a vision.
Because he doesn't see. Meaning at the moment, because he's closing his eyes and he's seeing something very, very deep about the future, very, very deep about what you are. So you're standing in front of a navi. It's so counterintuitive. But in other words, if you're standing in front of somebody and you really want to see them, you have to close your eyes. That's the yesod. So Shochad Yaver was a good thing. It was a holy thing, a holy Shochad. That Yitzchak couldn't see the bad in Esav. He could only see the good in Esav. That blinded him even more. So what we have over here is that it was the Akedah which started him off on his career change of thinking something that was very, very bad is actually very, very good. The Akedah saved Jews throughout all the generations. And what was really, really very bad was actually very, very good. How's that for a perspective changer? Laying on the Akedah. I'm telling you, what you see is not the right thing. You're short-sighted. Short-sighted. You can't see around the corner like I can see around the corner. Yitzchak saw around the corner.
It's
very interesting, by the way, even Sarah couldn't see this. Like Sarah, just to be open on this for a second, Sarah heard that Yitzchak's at her board, she's laughing. She hears that he's dying, she cries, she dies. It's like a very interesting two reactions that are very startling. He's named after the fact that she was laughing. I don't believe you're going to be born, and I can't believe that he died. It was seeing. I'm not knocking Sarah chas v'shalom. I'm just saying that Yitzchak, it was seeing things as they are in this moment. It was seeing things as they are in this moment.
So why was Rivka's strategy correct if he had greater insight?
She saw even further. But the positive shot is, okay, I don't.
It's not a matter
she spoke to Shane Baver. She spoke to Shane Baver, or like Sarah, at this moment, he's the tzaddik and he's the rasha. So it could be that this is the. I'm afraid to talk. It could be that this is the bechinas nukva that Sarah and Rivka saw at Kemoshahu. Go give the bracha to Esav. This makes no sense at all.
Women have that understanding.
Deeper or less deep?
Deeper.
Okay, but in this case,
women's intuition.
It seems like that Yitzchak, it's not a matter of seeing the positive; it's seeing the reality. Because his midah was not one of like ahava and rachamim and like I'm going to see the good in the person. It's his had a midah of din and yira. No, I'm saying Yitzchak, which means that this blinded insight, right, is not seeing the good in him. It's seeing the reality of his potential, not because he's got a midah that wants to see good. It's not. That's what we have to fight, is to see the good. But it seems like for him, it's coming from the accuracy, not
rachamim.
of rachamim. And
therefore what?
Therefore, we don't have to look for the consistency of it. Like where someone else may have seen that. His was accuracy. That's the.
He was wrong. He was wrong. He was wrong. Baruch was supposed to go to Yaakov.
Mina Bemis?
Yes. No, Yaakov Haber.
Yaakov was Amos?
His Gevurah.
Which is also the feminine side to it. Gevurah, so you're saying it's a midah.
There's something interesting. Leah, so the Eine Leah Rakos. And why was she Rakos? Also from tears.
Right.
Not the Malachim's tears, her tears. What was her tears? That she understood their whole life she's supposed to marry Esau.
So also the Malachim, the Nardinor, that cried.
Right. Eine Leah Rakos, I'm supposed to marry Esau. To marry Esau, you need your eyes to work completely differently than to marry Yaakov. So a different set of eyes. Eine Leah Rakos. And the emes is she married Yaakov at the end. So what was this, like a fear for nothing? No, because she married Yaakov because Yaakov also had this shtickle Esav. That's possibly what Rivka saw. Ba'achicha b'mirba. He deserves the brachos. Ba'achicha b'mirba. He's also a tricker.
Sharon learns that he was talking on Zivig,
Yeah.
and that Yaakov had to organize the midos.
Earlier than the Shem Shmuel, it was not her zivug. Why was it her zivug? It was her zivug because it was the godless of Esav. We're going to walk out of here for like Esav is going to become the god of Lador. But the fact of the matter is that what he saw. So let's just tie this up, and we'll apply it to the Gemara Shabbos Peitas on Tuesday morning. The Nekuda here that I just want to bring out is that Yitzchak's blindness was not something negative. it was something positive, and Rashi is himself understanding. It's not just the pshat that he became old and blind. Because when Yaakov became old and blind, Rashi doesn't say a word. Doesn't say a word about why he became blind. He became old, like the Torah says. But here, Rashi was confronted with Midrashim, and the Midrashim say that his blindness started already at the Akedah. His blindness was to Dvarim Royim. He didn't see some of the bad things that we all see. He was able to see something deeper, like you say, with accuracy, with a very, very keen sense of vision. And he was able to see even further than Rivka, hence he wanted to give the bracha to Esav. And Yitzchak, says Reb Tzadok, with the sentence over here, had no Bechira Chavshus, because he lost his Bechira Chavshus already at the Akedah, because he saw everything clearly. And when you see everything clearly, so that's called Yirah Shamayim. Yirah Shamayim is when you see everything clearly. And once you see everything clearly, dahainu, you're blind, and you don't have the limitations of sight as we know it. Wow. So once you see everything clearly, so then you have no more Bechira. So Yitzchak was the symbol of Yira, and this is the beginning of the Dvarim Amukim here that Reb Tzadok is going to teach.
You want to compare him to Rabbi Meir. Meir was also Rabbi Meir.
Same thing, right?
Same thing, but he can't pass him. He's a chayzer, but he's not a chayzer.
Shemeir einei chachamim b'halacha. Meir einei, lama nikra shmai Rabbi Meir, mipnei shemeir einei chachamim b'halacha. You're not seeing good. You're looking at a sheretz, you're not seeing good. If you're saying the sheretz is a sheretz, get rid of it, you're not seeing good. Meir einei chachamim b'halacha. We don't pass them like ein halacha k'maisei, but look, see things clearly for what they are. See things clearly, so I can be matayr the sheretz b'kulfin and drachim. You're not seeing the whole sheretz. If you're paskening, you're paskening superficial with these eyes. There's a different set of eyes. Meir, lama nikra shmei Meir, shemeir einei chachamim. Everyone felt they could see things better. Halacha doesn't work that way. Ein l'dayin elamasha einav rois. That's the thing, einav rois.
Meir einei chachamim b'halacha?
Yeah, meaning that we paskin like by what he sees, but we can't paskin until we see what he sees. So at the end, you have Yaakov, you have Esav. What's the psak? The psak is Yaakov, not Esav. But to see that there's something deeper over here, so he was Meir einei chachamim. Okay, but look at it deeper. There's a sugya over here. There's a sugya. Meir said, "It's not so pashut. It's not so pashut that you could just throw it away." This is, I'm sure, the pshat, by the way. In L'Sefer Adam efshi lechol basar chazir efshi lechol shrotzim b'ramosim. I can't do it. Efshi, I could do it. If I was Reb Meir, I could do it. Reb Meir was able to eat a sheretz. Nafshi. Couldn't do it because lahalacha, you don't eat a sheretz. But he showed them how to look at things completely different. What's the halacha? Ein l'dayon elamasha einav rois. You have to go with these eyes, not with these eyes. So what we learned today is there's two sets of eyes. There's two sets of eyes, and possibly the more blind these become, the better these can see.
So Kedah was at the end of Parshas Vayera.
Vayera, very nice. Oh.